first of all, thanks for joining us here. Appreciate the time and certainly the support of the team. They're ready to go again, though. As another pause takes place, again the same sort of juggling act of being in shape, but having enough in the tank to just play as part of the game. I think the last time around with the 2 games against Maine, we had the balancing act done pretty well. I don't think at any time we lost our footing or lost our energy or lost our conditioning, but it's always something you wonder how it's gonna appear, how it's gonna bounce when we get there. But just for a couple days here on the ice and a couple days in the weight room, everybody seems to be moving around pretty well, doing pretty well. But again, every time you start and stop, you always hope that nobody gets hurt along the way as well. So excitement is in the air, and looking forward to some more competition and getting closer to those 10 games where we need to have just to be kind of in the NCAA picture.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We'll open it up to questions now. Pat Donnelly, go ahead.
Coach, you were without some players to start off Maine and then lost a couple more players in that second game. Is there anyone you can expect back in the lineup this weekend, or anyone else you lost?
Yeah, I think we're gonna go on the plus side, which is always nice to have. There was concern with Catherine Fulham, who didn't play the second day against Maine. She will be back. Courtney Correa, who had a couple different bumps and bruises, practiced full yesterday and sort of in what we call the blue jersey the day before. So she's moving right in the right direction. And Jessie Comfer will be back. So, I was never a math major, but I think that's a +3, which is a good sign for depth, for volume, and, also the ultimate conditioning side of things too, and there's an outside chance we may have one more back, but that's still pending. But I think those 3 will be there, and that's a real nice uptick for us going forward and going into the weekend.
What are the main things your team is focusing on going into this game to kind of meet them at their compete level?
Sure. You still look at conditioning, but I think the fact that these kids train all year round, the fact that we have had a pretty good run of, on ice activity, a little bit jaded the last month to 5 weeks. But if you look back from, October till now, there's been a decent amount of skating. But they probably have the advantage of in live competition, seeing a few more things, going through a few different situations a couple more times, whether it's special teams, who you're putting out there late, and even some of the juggling of line combinations or D partners. We've done that, and we're doing it again. I felt like there was probably one group that had enough talent, but maybe physically it just wasn't a good combination, putting them all together. So a little separation to get a little more size with a little more speed, a little more, strength with somebody who might be smaller. And but that's the advantage they will have, is they've had a little more time to play around with some of those combination situations, or just things that occur in the course of time. And when you have, 4 freshman defensemen, they haven't seen that much in college hockey. And I've talked a bit about their relative ability is fine in my eyes, but their confidence doesn't just, start in 1 week or in 3 games or 5 games. It takes a little while to gather it because of the quickness, the speed, the strength, and the just to compete. One of them said to me after a game, she was amazed how serious everything seems to be, at this level. And I said, yeah, this is probably the only other place besides a national team or an Olympic team where it's like this, because we have preparation time, we have video, we have coaches who do it for a living, and players who are serious. So it's a learn on the go type of thing.
Laura, go ahead.
Speaking of some of the injured players that you have gotten back, Emma Wethridge played for the first time in that series against Maine this season. What did you think of her performance?
Yeah, I think, these pauses have probably aided her as much as anybody. because she, in the perfect world, probably needed a little bit more time. And when you tacked on 2 more weeks before we played Maine, you've had another break in the action here, and she's had another run. I like that from a healing and from a safety perspective, that when somebody has an injury of a serious matter or a surgery, we always hear these great numbers of, Wes Welker coming back for the Patriots after 5 months of an ACL. Well, he was getting paid $10 million a year, so there was a little bit more, a bigger carrot to deal with for somebody like that. And that's the only thing they have to do. We've got to go to school. We've got other things on our agenda. And so I'm just glad that for somebody like her, it was helpful, and in practice, the most important thing is she leaves practice, leaves the rink feeling pretty darn well. And that was not the case last year, partly because of the hip, but also because it was really inflicting discomfort, pain on her back. And right now she's got basically a repaired hip and close to 0 back pain. So it really is a positive for her. And, anybody else that might have been a little bit banged up, I guess the time helps, but they want a rhythm. They want a game rhythm, and they're keeping their fingers crossed that everything stays on track.
Last week not last week, 2 weeks ago, when you got behind multiple goals against Maine, it seemed like you would really struggle to get back, especially considering your conditioning. If that happens against BC, what will you need to do to actually get back in the game?
Score a goal. That's the real simple answer. It changes the complexion all the time. When things happen, that was a pretty darn good hockey game on Sunday. I thought our team played 2 really, really good periods. And then when we were a little deflated, or maybe Maine was a little more jazzed up for about 8, 9, 10 minutes of that second period, they were able to counter. They were able to get to the red line, dump it in, and they made a lot of good, quick line changes. So nobody got tired. Everybody was on their game for them. Yet we rebounded the last 10 minutes of the game to play pretty well, get some good opportunities, and really have the puck for the last 5 minutes. When it's 6-on-4, you kind of expect that, but 6-on-5, a bounce, a rebound, anything, we were really on top of it and controlled it, but didn't put the puck in. And to start the third period that day, when it was 2-0, we had 2 super grade A chances, and we didn't capitalize on either one. I think we shot one maybe just into a pad and one over the net. And the difference is, put one of those in the net, and all of a sudden you put pressure on the other team, you get the energy back. And I really think that's what we needed to do, because again, had we scored a goal anywhere in that game, the first period, maybe early in the second, all of a sudden we get the energy and get going. But they did finally score, and then they get a quick one right after, which made life a lot tougher for us coming back.